In what was our last look at Perrin Ibarra this season, now known as Lord Golden Eyes, Episode 7 delivered the much-awaited battle that we'd been excited for, ever since we peeked its bits and pieces in the season's trailer. This episode was all Perrin and the Two Rivers gang, and we loved it for that. It's about time Perrin got his time in the sun, and the amazingly gritty battleground of the Two Rivers carried a mighty punch for the fans. There were intense moments of sadness and revelry, a worthy conclusion for Perrin's story, with some tears for Loials. Let us get into the episodic review for this one, followed by a detailed ending explained, where we get into the repercussions that the events of Episode 7 will have on the overall narrative. Real quick, before we get into it, we have a small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. The episode from a vantage point. Episode 7, Golden Eyes, focused primarily on, well, Golden Eyes. Perrin and the Two Rivers clique got a full episode to show off their battle chops and conclude the narrative of this location. But the episode ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, with Perrin's fate hung in the Whitecloaks' balance. The episode kicked off with battle preparations in full swing, slowly circling into the motions our main characters are going through as they ready the people of the Two Rivers, and themselves for the impending battle. The battle was an underdog moment for the Two Rivers folk, and we found ourselves cheering on Perrin and his party throughout. I was all up for the intense action the kindly folk of the Two Rivers, as Padden Fane had once snidely called them, took to the Trollocs. The episode got down and dirty, showing us exactly how nasty a fight with the Shadow Spawn can get, and I really appreciated that. It was refreshing to get a good old fight where villains are just out and out nasty, bad guys, not nuanced characters with complex motivations. Alright guys, it's spoiler warning time. We're about to go into a spoiler-heavy episodic review and ending explained. Don't worry about the book spoilers though, we will not get into any of those in this video. Episode 7 in review. First off, let me mention, the long shots that we get of the physical locations at the opening moments of the scenes in Wheel of Time are always gorgeous, and Episode 7 was no different. Starting out with an overview of the thickly forested Two Rivers, the Wheel of Time series has managed to blend the physical location they're using with CG to create the period setting so well. I always admire the setup of Tar Valon and the White Hall. Two River sequences also looked absolutely magnificent. Inside the gates of the town, battle preparations are in full steam. Alana teaches the girls. Maxim trains the men as Perrin oversees the whole thing. There's something else in Perrin's eyes aside from the custodial monitoring he must constantly do as a leader. A streak of uncertainty lingers in his mind. This comes to the surface later on in the episode. I mean, who wouldn't be worried though, leading a bunch of village people to face the unwavering evil of an army raised to destroy everything the light touches? Perrin has now become the veritable lord of the people of the Two Rivers, even though he hates it when people call him that. His banner, that of the wolf, was a nice touch, and I enjoyed the exchange between Fael and Perrin, where she reminds him why the people there follow him. It's because he is one of them. He inspires courage among the common folk, to stand up and become greater than they ever thought they could be. Thematically, Perrin's rise was a solid arc for the show. Bravery and loyalty to protect one's home and people, in the face of most certain death, is what we're drawing on here. A strong underdog theme for a standout episode. Quite early into the episode, we get to meet Aram again, and while the Way of the Leaf, the total renunciation of violence, still binds him, we get to see the suffering inflicted upon his people begin to fracture his oath. Okay, so Perrin knows there's no way for them to win this battle alone, so he tries to crack a deal with Dane. And while there is a cliche line or two in this exchange, why should I help you? Because it's the right thing to do? I didn't mind it too much. Dane doesn't exactly shake on it, but we're left with the hope that Dane and his guys might join the fight. Of course, he's unaware at this point that Dane and the Whitecloaks have joined hands with Padden Fane. Now, the Trollocs are going to strike that night, so naturally, some people have a bit of if this were our last night fun. Alana and Maxim finally get together, and thank God, felt like a long time coming. But it isn't long before the Trollocs are spotted coming over the hill and everyone gets serious. Loial's send-off in this episode almost brought me to tears, and it begins when he goes off to shut the Waygate. Perrin and Loial embrace before he leaves, and there's such a sense of finality here. From that moment on, everyone had to know Loial was living on borrowed time. So as the Two Rivers folk gather up for battle, we catch their scared expressions. As soon as I saw all that fear among the ranks of simple village folk, I was looking at Perrin, like, speech, speech, speech! But Perrin Ibarra surprised me with a song, which his people quickly took up. It was a sweet moment, but it carried a feeling of doom. And I don't know, an adrenaline-laced speech packs more charge in such moments if you ask me. Not a moment later, the Trolloc snarls and grunts permeated people's ears, and it was on. The battle sequence that followed was very well done. Arrows flying around, Trollocs and men falling as the Dark Army tried to breach the barricades in the narrow pass. Once Perrin and the Trollocs gathered up close, Maxim calls upon Alana, an emotional signal which was a nice element of their bond on display. play, along with the Cawthon girls and another channeler. Daze, who you might remember from Season 1, she brought down a large Trolloc, ring a bell? Anyway, along with the girls, Alanna brings down what looks like a hail of ice shards over the Trollocs, and I've gotta say, this was truly stunning. The sound and the visual aesthetic, everything was brilliant. But after this triumphant feat by Alanna, it was sure startling to watch her get skewered by a hefty Trolloc arrow. Man, poor thing has got arrowed again. With the only Aes Sedai the Two Rivers had down and hurt, the hope of coming out of this thing alive suddenly got dimmer for the people. The Whitecloaks joined the battle. A second wave of Trollocs followed after Alanna is taken down. But this time, I was a little chuffed because we actually got a speech. It's Maxim who steps up with it though, and he delivers quite a cracker. What wins battles, he said, is being too dumb to know when you're beaten, too stubborn to fall down and die, too nasty to let the wheel crush you without jabbing a stick in its spokes. I mean, you've got to admit, that's wow. I'm a sucker for battle speeches, and I'm glad they didn't leave me high and dry here. The archers get behind Maxim and nail the Dark Friends climbing over the barricades. But with Alanna down, Perrin's people don't stand much of a chance. Of course, at this point, you'd start wondering whether Dane would show up or not. And as if on cue, he does. The Whitecloaks ride in with Padden Fane in their midst. The episode was pretty darn good, but that's not to say it was entirely unpredictable. The Whitecloaks coming in turns into a whole mess real quick though, as Padden Fane comes out as Dark Friend and begins slaughtering everyone. The Trollocs infiltrate the town and it's chaos at the utmost. Fire, swords, arrows and blood, all flying around, men and women against vile grunting beasts. The background score is ringing like a school bell at this point. Anxiety on 100. This was probably the most riveting part of the battle, as all the balls are up in the air, including with Loial's quest, which we'll come to a little later. An interesting thing happens as Aram and Illa try to escape the town with the kids and some women, but the Trollocs find them. In an effort to save the baby he has strapped upon him, Aram breaks the way of the leaf and kills an especially abhorrent Trolloc that came at him on all fours. I felt for this guy, as he instinctively abandoned his oaths to save an innocent little heart. The awesome part of the battle inside the town came when Perrin shed the burden of letting his people down, his lingering inhibitions, and went beast mode, with Thale finishing off whatever his hammer and axe left behind. This is the turning point in the battle. As Perrin unleashes himself, his people respond, turning into unyielding soldiers, and together with the Whitecloaks, they begin to destroy the Dark One's army. Another moment to cherish within all that mayhem was the Cawthon girls coming together and channeling the fire to burn Eamon alive. A bit of poetic justice after what he did to their mother. What made this episode great was that it took its time with the battle, and it didn't shy away from showing the kills on both the good and the bad side. It made for some gritty, absolutely murky action scenes, which I loved. I didn't crave for crazy fight choreography or anything like that. It was not required here. The whole thing felt genuinely as filthy and messy as a battleground must be. Except maybe when Perrin spared Padden Fane. I understand why he did that, because Padden Fane controlled the Trollocs and all that, but still. You know, watching Padden Fane slit that woman's throat and snicker at Perrin was in such distaste. I was ready to kill the guy myself. So when Perrin spared him after all those others he had killed, it was frustrating and anticlimactic as hell. I mean, why? Why does this rotten scum get to live when so many others in his troop all die around him? Of course, before his sparing moment, he reiterated that he had thousands of Trollocs coming from Waygate, which brings us to Loial and the Aiel ladies, and their quest to close the Waygate before the Trolloc reinforcements get through. Loial at the Waygate. Loial breaking of the Waygate was an awesome scene for me, and the way Loial, Chiad, and Bane started out there had a vibe of such complete badassery. I literally got to my feet. Loial goes on to pound those Trollocs and Dark Pals with his Mega Mallet, and the Aiel Spear Maidens also do their thing. But thereafter, Loial steps out to the other side of the gate, as the only way to close it permanently was from there. But soon enough, the Trolloc reinforcements arrive, ready to go and join the Two Rivers battle. The Spear Maidens take them on as Loial thinks of another way, as he soulfully hums the song of the Manetheren and smashes down the stone of the small bridge on which he stands. I immediately knew what was about to happen. That whole scene was rife with bravery and melancholy in equal measure, and a sacrifice was in order. As the bridge cracks and breaks, Loial takes a great fall and perishes with it. It's not hard to draw parallels with J.R.R. Tolkien's work here, especially The Lord of the Rings, but that's the case for the entire fantasy genre, not just Wheel of Time. And to WOT's credit, they did Loial's passing with that slow-mo fall into the abyss great justice. Rafe Judkins had promised us that he would kill some of our beloved characters in the show in some heartrending ways, and here we are. An explosion of the Waygate follows. Loial, breaking the Trollocs' path, saves Two Rivers the grief of a sure-shot death. With the hope of the reinforcements quashed, Perrin makes a deal with Padden Fane to make his Trollocs and men leave and stay far away from Two Rivers. He basically makes a deal with the devil, because we all know he hasn't seen the last of that nutjob Dark Friend. Ending explained. The episode ends with Perrin being taken by Dane and the Whitecloaks. That was the deal he made with Dane in exchange for bringing the Whitecloaks to fight alongside Two Rivers. Perrin surrenders himself for his people. The episode consequently leaving us with a solid hook, which should aid Judkin's team with the Season 4 pitch. A bittersweet voiceover by Loial for his friend Perrin, and the chants of Lord Perrin by the Two Rivers crowd in this episode on an overwhelmingly emotional note. It was a worthy battle, chock full of drama and action, strong moments, some new relationships forming as others get severed by way of death, or as in Perrin's case, by his capture by the Whitecloaks. The episode was a little predictable. At no point was I in complete suspense of what would happen next. But even so, the battle was full of heart and grit, and that did it for me. Okay, so in the aftermath of the battle, Alanna appears to have healed rather swiftly from that Trolloc arrow that impaled her through and through, and I do wonder how. Do let me know in the comments if you know how that could have been possible. Aram abandoning the way of the leaf was also an interesting thing, as we can see the people of peace coming into an internal conflict with the rise in attacks against them. And finally, I have to mention Loial. Loial was set up to die in this episode from the moment he took charge of closing down the Waygate, but his loss bears heavy on me, and I'm sure most fans will feel the same way. Do you reckon they'll resurrect Loial somehow? By some way magic that cushioned his fall or something? I mean, the guy has been brought back before, and I sure hope the show surprises us by reprising his character again, if and when the new season comes through. I'm not getting my hopes too high right now though, because the way Loial's death was built up and shown in this episode, and then Perrin reading from his book afterward to find that Loial already knew he was going to his death, it all had an air of tragic destiny, an empathic ending to a wonderful chapter. Now that Two Rivers' story has concluded for the season, we're left with the Rand and Moiraine side of things, and I have a feeling Samael is in that mix as well. There's also the extremely popular side of Tanchico, where everybody else is shacking up right now. Leandrin with one half of the bracelet, Moghedien with the other, and so what of the collar? With Nynaeve, Elaine, Mat, and Min still on the lookout, and Min's vision of Mat hanging yet to play out, there's a lot of narratives left to come crashing together in the finale. I just hope Judkin's team finds the right balance for this last dance. Marvelous verdict. You know, I almost always forgot about the White Tower story when we're discussing the umpteen number of narratives running side by side in Wheel of Time. All that Elaida politicking in the White Tower, and what with Swan having put Elaida in harm's way, I'm sure nothing's quite happened with that narrative yet. There's a lot of those loose ends left for the show to tie up right now, and I'm curious to see how the showrunner plans to bind them up together. Fandom expectations are high, and we're banking on WOT pulling off an explosive conclusion next week. I would take the liberty of saying that as of now, Episode 4, The Road to the Spear, stands as the undisputed champion as far as episodic excellence goes. I don't think the final episode is going to change that standing, but hey, one can never really know. On that note, I bid you all adieu, but I'm really looking forward to reading your takes on this episode, so get busy in the comments section, people. If you liked this video, please smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Much appreciated. Bye for now.